Good day, students. Once again, this is another recording on averages. Another recording on averages. Example 5.3 is exactly where we are. It says an aeroplane flew part of a journey in 3.5 hours at 480 kilometers per hour, and the remaining distance at 3,150 kilometers of journey at 450 kilometers per hour. We don't know the time this aeroplane traveled, but we know that it traveled 3,150 kilometers at 450 kilometers per hour, and we are required to calculate the average speed of the aeroplane for the journey as a whole, of which the distance is equal to speed times time. And we are given the go-ahead formula that is guiding us to say the average speed is equal to the total distance traveled divided by the total time taken. We know the time that it took to travel the 480 kilometers, or it took to travel 480 kilometers per hour. We know we had 3.5 hours at 480 kilometers per hour. Then for us to get to the distance, we do have the speed. The speed is already given as 480 in the first case, and our time is 3.5 hours. So the speed times time will give us the distance, and the distance is what we need. So the first distance will be 3.5 times by 480. This will give us 1,680 kilometers per hour. The second distance, we are given already the distance instead, and the remaining 3,150 kilometers of the journey at 450 kilometers per hour. So for the second one, we're given 3,150 as the distance that was traveled in kilometers. But for the first one, we had to calculate the distance and say distance is equal to 480 times by 3.5 hours, which is distance is equal to speed times time, and we got that to 1,680 kilometers per hour. So now we are looking for time. Remember, we said it's divided by time. We are given 3.5 hours for the first journey that was traveled, but we don't know the time for the second journey. But for the second journey, we are given the distance. We know that distance is equal to speed times time, and the distance is 3,150 for the second part of the journey is equal to speed. We do have the speed. The aeroplane was traveling at 450 kilometers per hour in the second journey, 450 kilometers for the remaining journey, times by we have time. We don't have time. Speed times time. Speed times time. I don't know why I said speed times p. Speed times time, which is our speed is 450 times by our time that we're looking for. So we divide by 450 and we divide by 450 in order for us to get to our time is equal to 3,150 divided by 450. So now let us do that. We say 3,150 divided by 450. This will give us 7 hours, meaning it took 7 hours for this aeroplane to travel 3,150 kilometers. So now that is the info that we have so far. Then let us go and substitute in our formula. We say the average speed is equal to total distance, and the distance is 1,680, which we calculated by saying 3.5 times by 480 kilometers that were traveled for the first distance, 1,680. Please do show the calculations plus 3,150, which is the remaining distance, divide by 3.5 hours plus 7 hours. 7 hours was 3,150 divided by 450. That will be the 7 hours where we've obtained the 7 hours as you have seen. So show your calculation somewhere else. I just want to keep this workings as neat as possible. So now we have calculated that. We just need to divide and see how much do we get. Then you say 1680 plus 3150 will give us the total distance. The distance that was traveled by this aeroplane was 4830, and the total hours will be 10.5 hours, which is 10.10 and a half hours that were traveled, and the speed or the distance is 4830 divided by the time it took to travel, which is 10.5. It took 10.5 to travel. That means the average speed will be 460 kilometers per hour. So that will be the average speed to travel the 4830 distance at an average speed of 460 kilometers per hour. And as I said to you, that most of the time you'll be given the go ahead. And this is very similar again to what we did previously, because in this case we are provided with the total distance that was traveled, the remaining distance, and we're given also the speed, which is 450, and we needed to find time. And in the first one we were given what? We were given the time, which is the time was 3.5, and we're given the speed of 480. So we needed to find the distance. So now you will be to some extent be required to calculate something in any form of an average, but this one was again very simpler and very close to what we did previously. Thank you very much. These are 2-3 marks that you need to grab.